Hello, everybody. Hello. Oh, so I gotta kind of explain what's going on. I appreciate a round of applause for all the other comics tonight. So normally, like I would, every month I try to do like a sci-fi themed show, and where I get to talk about things that bother me about the Star Wars series, and of which there are many at this moment. But my mom passed away in November on last month, and I felt like I can't talk about normal stuff, and I need to talk about what happened there with you. So this is going to be possibly funny. But I basically I want to talk about it and use humor to celebrate her life, and hopefully get enough good clips to put it on TikTok and build a following. Because I'll tell you, the one thing that is getting me through this, my friends, narcissism. So she died on November 16th. And I looked it up to see what other things had happened on that day. That was the same day that Oklahoma became a state. So it's a bad day. It's a bad day. And the problem is I can hear my mom react two different ways to what I just said, depending on what mood you caught her in. She might say, "Oh, you shouldn't say that because you might offend anyone who might be from Oklahoma." But then if she'd had a little bit to drink, she would say, "Fuck Oklahoma." Because I'm sitting here thinking, why did I go in that route? And then I thought, oh, right, abortion. That's right. Because they're very anti-abortion in Oklahoma, and I'm pro-choice. I really am. I'm very pro-choice because life is not that great. And my thinking of it is like of all the states where you don't want to be born, Oklahoma. Give them an out. You know what I mean? So it starts with my dad calling, and he says, "Hey, how are you?" And I could tell by the "how are you" that something was bad, which is why can we no longer say "how are you"? Let's get rid of "how are you" as a way to start any conversation, because nobody has cared how anyone else has been doing, I think, since the 1600s. Frankly. Just cut to it, and it turned out that she had esophageal cancer, which and I'm on the phone talking about it with the doctor. We were on a conference call, and the doctor was saying, and he said it's esophageal cancer. It's advanced. It's too late. And then the doctor said, I can't tell if it's the squamous kind of cancer or the other kind of cancer. And I'm sitting there going, I don't think we care. It's kind of like, she was hit by a car. Was it a Honda or a Toyota? And so, it was kind of, we all, at one point I asked, what's the prognosis? And there was a pause. And I think the doctor was, it's a hard way of saying the prognosis is not good. Basically, if the best way I could describe the prognosis, especially for those of you who are sports fans, is that my mom was at the same state as the Broncos right now. That's basically, I know, yes, I know, right. The coach is being fired. It's not looking good. So I realized I got to buy a plane ticket to go home, and I noticed that there's a flight at 6 a.m. and then a flight at 9 a.m. And I thought to myself, if I really loved my mother, I probably would go with the 6 a.m. flight. But if I could use a couple extra hours to sleep in. She'd understand. Yes. I think I should also paint a picture about who my mom was, so that you understand. My mom, no one would be laughing harder at me making fun of this situation than my mom. She had a great sense of humor, a dark sense of humor. When I was at a family night once, she had gone off to smoke By the way, don't do that if you're that's what I've learned about esophageal cancer. Smoking causes cancer, guys. I know. Newsflash. And the weird thing is that a month before she passed, and before we even knew that there was even a problem, I was kind of worried about her health, and then she said, "Josh, don't worry. It's about having the will to live." And I want to amend that by saying it's about having the will to live and not smoking. I think those two things I put together, it's yes. Having the will to live and not giving yourself carcinogens for 40 consecutive years. Do those two things and you guys will be fine. Sorry, it's 2022, you people, you humans, guys, women, right.
It's not weed though, right?
Why are you talking to me? So yeah, my mom died. By the way, I'm so using that to guilt people. I so am. But listen, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I'm trying to get through this, so laugh or don't. Cool? Perfect. Yeah, that's right. And I don't know if you believe in the afterlife or not, but I know that my mom is very vindictive, and she's watching you right now. So don't fuck with her, all right? Don't fuck with the dead Jewish mother. You're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret that. So I go out there, and Colorado, November, freezing cold. Perfect way to make this even more depressing. And they decide they're going to put her in a hospice. And if you don't know what a hospice is, that's where people go basically when they're going to do no heroic measures, and you're trying to make them comfortable before they die. And we're walking, and we're driving to the hospice. And we hit, like, for some reason, a block away from the hospice, there are these things called roundabouts. Why do we have these in this country? It's instead of a four-way stop, it's a circle that no one understands what to do with. And they so now we got to navigate these damn roundabouts on the way to the hospital. No more roundabouts, please. No, is this fucking Europe? Come on. We get to the hospice. Every time, I can't tell you the number of times I saw the roundabout coming and we all get nervous, like, what lane is it? What lane? Is it the inner lane? Is it the outer lane? Someone is always behind me, they know, and they always honk. Fuck the roundabouts. We go up to the door to the hospice. As I said, hospice, this is where people are going to die. And there's a sign on the door that says you must wear a mask at all times. Because the last thing we want to do is go up to a person who is about to die and give them death. I feel like of all the places where we could relax on the mask policy, it's the hospice. We go in, and here's... I really think we have a problem with how we deal with death in this country. Because my mom was alive for 2 days longer than she needed to be alive. I really believe that. I think the way that it should have gone is just, we say our goodbyes, give her a shot, put her to sleep, and then just end it. But when they do the comfort care, they don't do that. Like, they make you comfortable, but at the same time, they don't get in the way, and they don't interfere, and they don't do anything, and or they only try to give you enough drugs as needed. That's what they kept saying, morphine as needed. I know my mother. As needed should be always morphine. and I remember her talking to me and saying very clearly, listen, Josh, if I'm ever in this situation, pull the plug, give me the morphine, no heroic measures. So the nurses are like, trying to explain how the process works, but I'm going in there with this attitude of like, let's kill the bitch, let's do this. Let's end this, come on, let's go. Let's go. I'm flying Southwest, who knows when I'll be able to leave. I've got a very narrow window here. So we go, I finally see her in the hospital bed. I had to leave and go outside and cry for a second because it sounded like it was real. And then I come back, and there's a moment where, my dad goes out with the nurse, and I'm alone with her, and I thought this is the moment where, this was the other weird thing. Apparently when people are near death, it is said that they can hear everything that we tell them. But my mom was almost deaf. So could she only hear us if we shouted in her ear? Because I didn't want my last words to my mother to, I didn't want to be shouting at a, I love you! I love you, Mom! So I thought, I'm going to ignore that. I'm just going to say what I need to say to her. And I said, Mom, I want you to know that I love you very much, and you can now be at peace. And I said it, and I felt really bad because I didn't feel like I was crying while I said it. So I said it again, and then this time some tears came up. What I'm telling you is I got it on the second take. We did a third for safety. That's the one we're going to print. And so the other thing, by the way, is that as I was telling her this, she was snoring, which was kind of rude. But I got used to it. I got used to being in the situation, seeing this person in this state of mind. And I started to just kind of talk to her like normally. In fact, I started to do the thing where like I would say a joke knowing she wouldn't be able to respond, but like expecting a response like, yeah, isn't that right, Mom? And then I would, start kind of running it like a commentary. Like I think my dad and the nurse were talking, and then they left, and I said, I'm sorry you had to hear that. That was an insipid conversation. Now, there was a moment, like we thought we would play music to kind of, alleviate her. And so we were playing some classical music. But the device that we brought to play the classical music was wireless. And every time the signal would drop, this beautiful classical music would be replaced with a voice saying, iPhone signal lost. And I'm thinking she can hear everything. This is what if I'm aggravated, she's aggravated. iPhone signal they need to have a setting for those things for if you're in this situation. By the way, her room in the hospice was phenomenal. And you know how I know? Every single member of my family, Jewish family, need I say more, every single member of my family when they walked in, this is a nice room, look at this is amazing, this is great. Every single member of the most amazing room. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because we kind of screwed up because we cremated her, but in her will it said, please bury me in a pine box according to Jewish tradition. But we found out that cremation was cheaper, so I would argue the Jewish tradition. I think we obeyed the Jewish tradition. At any point, we're playing the music, and then I thought, we're playing classical music, but I remember she really loved jazz. And my dad had actually had to leave to go to work for a minute, and so I started playing jazz music. And then, this is when it got freaky, she started to kind of try to get out of bed. And I'm like, but is it? She was kind of like moving a little bit, and her foot started to shake with the tune to the jazz. And she kind of opened her eyes a little bit, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and I didn't know what to say, and I was like, if you want morphine, blink once. And then she blinked, and the nurse standing behind me was like, yeah, I think she wants more morphine. So we gave her more morphine, and I realized I didn't play any more jazz music because I thought she's going in the wrong direction. We're gonna go towards the light. And then I should have played pop music. She'd have been dead in 5 minutes. The family came over, and her she had fallen out with her sister. And we were debating whether or not should we even have the sister come there. But once I saw how powerful that morphine was, I was like, yeah, bring the sister. They won't matter. And we're all sitting over there, and we're talking, and it was the most amazing conversation I had with my family because all the secrets came out. Like, it was like this, we all admitted things, we all found out things, There was stuff that happened about my cousin's suicide. That's going to be a different special. I don't have time to go into that. So, all right, we're coming to it. The moment here, the moment where she passes. She, there's a moment, it was just my dad and I, and she turns her head towards my dad, very kind of dramatically. And the first thought that came to my mind was, she's going to look at him and not at me. I felt a little kind of slighted. I walk over to Dad says, "Come over," and we both are looking at her, and she stops breathing, and her face turns a bit green, and she passes. And but her heart was still beating. Her heart continued beating for 2 minutes after she died, and so there was a moment where I was like, yes, no, because they didn't have the beep, 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 beep. They didn't have that. So we're just kind of watching, and then the nurse comes in, and finally she's like, okay, her heart stopped. And she said, just, stay there for a second, and we'll come back with the coroner. And I have the image of her face. And it's the image of the one of the most important people in my life, seeing the blood drained out of her face, seeing her face turn green, and I'm like, what do I do with this image? How do I live with this image? What do I do with it? And the only thing I can think of is I've got to find the humor. I've got to find the humor in this because it's too terrible otherwise. The only thing I can think of is, I don't know, it was because of what was going on with her teeth at the time. And it was because of the green and kind of the shape of her face or whatever, but I gotta say, she looked a lot like Yoda. She didn't do the disappearing thing, obviously, which would have been useful because the woman said, well, I'm gonna go get the coroner, and she leaves, and then I'm there with my dad, and my aunt came in, and we start talking. And after about 15 minutes, we realized no one's coming, and we're just there with a corpse. And I was almost like, should we pop the trunk? What do we do? Because you don't see, all I had known about death I'd seen in the movies, and they always cut away before you have to deal with the minutia of what the fuck do you do with the body? No one was coming. So there's a moment where we're like, I guess we're just gonna go home now. So my dad very sweetly, kisses her on the forehead and says, "I love you very much. I'm gonna miss you." And then he walks away, and this is the last time I'm going to see her body, and I'm like, I gotta leave on a laugh. I know that's I gotta leave on a good laugh line. So I thought, all right. I said, "Mom, I love you," and I'm not happy about how this came about. I'm not happy. This is a very bad draft. I said, "Mom, I love you very much," and then I said, "Don't worry, I'm sure there'll be salmon in heaven." Oh. I know. I thought I could riff. It did, I thought I could come up with something in the moment. This is why you need to pre-write, okay? This is why you don't improv it. You You work it out. You take it to mics. You take it to shows. You build it into something. You don't want to ad lib and your mom's death. No. We leave. And next day we go to the Feldman's mortuary. You'll never guess which which religion that is. And actually, it's against the rules for Jews to be cremated, and the reason is because it's believed that our Messiah, and I guess this means Jesus is not the actual Messiah. So I don't have a horse in the race, but I'm just informing you. But it's believed that when the Jewish Messiah returns to earth, he's going to resurrect all of the dead Jews and take them to Israel, which if you describe that to my mother, she'd be like, I'll pass. But I guess he can only resurrect a dead Jew if it's a full, complete dead Jew. If the Jew is in pieces, I guess this Messiah is like, I can't. No, I'm not assembling. Do not take him to IKEA. He's not going to want that. So we're there. And here's what I learned about the cremation process. Apparently, if you work at a crematorium and you're talking to people about cremating their loved ones, every single person is going to reference The Big Lebowski, apparently. Because we did that, and I saw the look on her face of like, yes, everyone mentions The Big Lebowski. The moment in the movie where they try to throw the ashes and it blows back in their face. And she actually explained that the urns they have designed are designed so that they don't do that, and then she referenced The Big Lebowski. So that's become part of our lexicon. Good to know. $5,000 to cremate someone, and I'm sitting here thinking, really, $5,000 for $5,000? Really? I know how to light a match. And then my other horrible thought was leave it to the Jews to figure out a way to make some, Then she said if we wanted to pay $6,000. There's a new kind of cremation process that is kosher and allowed by Jews because it's a chemical-based cremation process. And this is why I love the Jews. We always find a workaround. God says you can't cremate. You're like, give us a minute. We'll come up with something. Shlomo, come on here. We'll figure this out. I want to give you some tips for when you're consoling someone when they've just lost either the love of their life or their mother. Please, check your breath. I can't tell you what it's like to be consoled. Someone says, I'm so sorry for your loss, and they keep talking at me, and it's like, did you just eat an entire salmon? What? And I would go like, the good news is that I would go like that, which would make me look like I was really emotional, but the reality is you're melting off my fucking face. We went to a Chinese restaurant, again, keeping with the theme of Judaism. I was there with my dad and all his friends and all his family, and it was all a bunch of people in their 70s, and I thought to myself, I'm sitting in 15 funerals right here. Do they do group rates? That's what I'm wondering. This is apparently the Jewish part of the thing. So, here's the thing. I want to celebrate my mother, right? I want to celebrate my mother, and I want to, again, I think back, the haunting images of the last time that I saw her, but I want to celebrate her, and she was always very self-conscious about how she looked, and I want to celebrate her when she was at her best, and that's why I'm going to tell you something right now, and I'm going to say this with full confidence, that when she was at her prime, she had amazing tits. Now, I want to be clear, I was never attracted to her, but as somebody who knows good tits, she had good tits. And if you come away with no other image, I want you to come away with my mother having amazing tits. I don't know. And then I think to myself, how do I, it makes me think about life and death and, what's out there afterwards, because, they were saying that probably when people are in this state, this is what the nurses were saying, they're probably seeing loved ones who are coming to greet them and take them to the next place. And I'm thinking to myself, my mom hated most of her loved ones. Sounds awful. And then people saying, she's with her family in heaven. And I'm like, are we only with our family in heaven? Like, I think it's okay to be with our family in heaven, like, on Fridays. But the rest of the time, I want to be with Maureen O'Sullivan. That's who I want to be when I'm in heaven, frankly. Here's what I think. I hope she's not herself. That's what I hope. Because she was always so nervous. Like, my biggest fear is that she's still nervous. That she's in that urn of ash right now going, I hope nobody hits me over, and because this is going to be a mess. It's going to be too hard to clean this up. I hope that she is in no form, that she is nothing. Because that's the closest that I think that she can get to somebody saying, hey, how do you feel about this? And she'll go, whatever. My mother never said that. She never would respond like, whatever. But I think for me, heaven for her is, It's fine, yeah, whatever. That's heaven for my mother. That's what I hope it is. I want to close by telling all of you that know how you want to die and know how your loved ones want to die, and have the conversation with them. Because my mom had said, pull the plug. And I'm glad that we had that talk, because in that moment, when she was going like this to me, I said, give her the morphine. And I can only hope that this was, I love you, goodbye, not, I changed my mind. You guys have been phenomenal. My name is Josh. Thank you very much.
Joshua Snyder!